Yes, Prabhuji. Uh, you would like to start with Mangalacharan or whatever is appropriate.
Hare Krishna, dear Subal Gopal Prabhu, A.C. Baldev Siva Prabhu, Leela Govind Prabhu, Dr. Harini Mataji, Ruby Mataji, and Raghu Prabhu. Thank you for turning your camera on. I see Shubha Mataji and there's one more,
Shalini Mataji.
Shalini Mataji. Hare Krishna. My humble pranams to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to purify my life, my existence, by sharing something from the Bhagavad Gita. And Subal Gopal Prabhu mentioned that you are reading chapter 4, and he gave me the option I can either do summary of chapter 4 or I can start chapter 5. So I had the choice, so I picked the first choice. So thank you so much. Before we go into the chapter 4, which is entitled, what's the title of the chapter? Anyone?
Jnana Yoga,
Jnana Yoga. Yes, or transcendental knowledge.
transcendental knowledge.
In English, in Sanskrit, Jnana Yoga. So Bhagavad Gita is the life and soul of Vaishnavas. Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all scriptures. Bhagavad Gita is the one book which can purify us from all the impurities. So I want to read something about the importance of the Bhagavad Gita, and then we can go into the summary of chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, if that's okay for everyone. Does it sound okay, Prabhus?
Yes,
So here is a brief snippet from Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 27, Purport. So this is as it is from the purport. Herein, Arjuna refers to the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which was imparted to him by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The Lord left behind him the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, not for the benefit of Arjuna alone, but also for all time and in all lands. So beautiful. In all time, in all lands, for all the people. The Bhagavad Gita is being spoken by the Supreme Personality of God. It is the essence of all the Vedic wisdom. It is nicely presented by the Lord Himself for all who have very little time to go through the vast Vedic literatures like Upanishads, Puranas, Vedanta Sutras. Now, I guess it applies to all of us because time is less. Everyone is so busy. Who has time to read all the Vedas, Puranas, Sutras, and whatnot with hundreds and millions of verses? So, it's specifically nicely presented for all of us. The problem which arose in the heart of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra was solved by the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Again, it was not Arjuna's problem, but actually every one of us's problem. And Arjuna was on battlefield. We are all on the battlefield every day, right? Every day is a Kurukshetra. So again, after the departure of the Lord from the vision of the earthly people, when Arjuna was face to face with being vanquished in his acquired power and prominence, he wanted again to remember the great teachings of Bhagavad Gita and just to teach all concerned that the Bhagavad Gita can be consulted in all critical times, not only for solace from all kinds of mental agonies, but for the way out of great entanglements which may embarrass one in some critical hour. So beautifully Prabhupada is writing here, as it is reading from the purport. So the merciful Lord left behind him the great teachings of Bhagavad Gita, so that one can take the instructions of the Lord even when he is not visible to material eyesight. I think that applies to us and that applies to current times. We may not be able to perceive the presence of the Supreme Lord, right? In like Arjuna was able to on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as his chariot driver. But if we read Bhagavad Gita, the merciful Lord has left behind these teachings, the transcendental teachings, the transcendental knowledge, the jnana, the bhakti. Material senses cannot have any estimation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by His inconceivable power, the Lord can incarnate Himself to the sense perception of the conditioned souls in a suitable manner through the agency of matter, which is also another form of the Lord's manifested energy. Thus, the Bhagavad Gita or any authentic spiritual sound representation of the Lord is also the incarnation of the Lord. So, Bhagavad Gita, in short, is the merciful incarnation of the Lord. There is no difference between the sound representation and the Lord Himself. There's no difference between the sound representation of the Lord and the Lord Himself, whether it's the holy name, whether it's the holy Grantha, Bhagavad Gita, whether it's the holy Prasad, whether it's the holy deities, whether it's the Vaishnavas. One can derive the same benefit, very, very important line, one can derive the same benefit from the Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna did in the personal presence of the Lord. Haribol. So that was a brief about the importance of Bhagavad Gita. One can derive the same benefit. So let's try to offer prayers to our Guru Parampara so that we can also try to derive the same benefit for the next some time, and we can read, understand, and most importantly, try to apply Bhagavad Gita in our lives. Om Gyantimirandhasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Upasindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna. My humble obeisances again to all the devotees, especially those who joined in the last few minutes. Thank you so much all for your kind association. Today we are going to summarize or do a synopsis of chapter 4, which is entitled the Jnana Yoga or Transcendental Knowledge. So this is the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, 700 verses, and this chapter has 42 verses. So we will do a quick summary and then take some important lessons from this chapter 4. The acronym to understand this chapter 4 in an easy way is ears, right? In the bhakti process, knowledge is not obtained through eyes or even any of the senses, but knowledge is received. We cannot buy spiritual knowledge. We cannot read books and get spiritual knowledge. We cannot, hear tons of YouTube videos and say, oh, I'm a self-realized soul. But this knowledge is received from a bona fide spiritual master or bona fide spiritual literatures like Bhagavad Gita, like Srila Prabhupada and the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. So the acronym EARS, EARS, the 4 words, the 4 letters, and each letter represents a word to understand this chapter. So the E, the first 10 verses talk about the eternal education or eternal knowledge. The A stands for the accurate understanding, and the R stands for removing the reactions. And the final S stands for sacrifice. So eternal knowledge. Then what is the right understanding? Very, very important, because so many people have so many ideas about spiritual life or about the Eastern philosophy or about even Bhagavad Gita, right? Like in today's day and world, if you ask someone, oh, what do you think about God? You'll get 10 million answers. So it's important to understand, what does Bhagavad Gita tell us? What does the right guru, right scripture, right acharyas teach us? And how can we remove ourselves from all the sinful reactions? So Krishna teaches the art of proper work with which we will not be bound to any reactions. And finally, the S for sacrifice. So let's dive deeper, and we will reflect on a few verses also. So I have those opened as well. As we are doing the summary, we will read a few verses also. Again, all of you have already read the chapter and purport and discuss in great lengths and breadth. So we'll not go in each purport or like one verse, but we are doing a summary study. So we will be covering all the verses, not one by one, but understanding the key themes and the key lessons in this chapter. So the first letter, E, stands for eternal education. And Lord Krishna mentions in chapter 4 that I have given this knowledge to the sun god also, right? And given this knowledge through the medium of disciplic succession. This knowledge is not something coming first time. I've given this knowledge multiple times, and one of them he mentions is he's given it to the sun god and then his dynasty. And then Arjuna begins a question. Well, sun god, that's like millions of years back, and you and I are like cousins, right? Basically, as we learn that he's asking that question, so for all of us. Then Krishna explains that actually you and I, there's a big difference between the Supreme Lord and an ordinary jiva, right? That you and I are not the same. As we read here, that how Krishna asked this question, that sun god is so senior to you by birth. But then the Supreme Lord says that there have been many, many births you and I have passed. I can remember because I'm the Supreme Lord, but you cannot. How many of us remember our past birth, right? No one. There are a few people who may remember also, but I was hearing a class by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. That does not make them any more spiritual. So Lord Krishna also clarifies that there is a big difference between Anuatma, which is the Jiva, and the Vibhuatma, which is the Supreme Lord. So a big and very, very important lesson here, my dear friends, The transcendental teachings of Lord Krishna must be transparently transmitted for the transformation of heart. Right? Lot of poetic tea. The word tea is coming here again and again. So I'll share it again so we can all see. And this was coined by His Grace Gauranga Prabhu. So transcendental teachings, which is the title of the chapter of Lord Krishna, coming from the Supreme Lord Himself, must be transparently. So if we are sharing or we are a medium to share, we must become a transparent medium. Very, very important lesson. A transparent medium. Therefore, this is called Bhagavad Gita as it is. Transmitted for the transformation, not for information, not to develop pride. Oh, I can share better verses. I give a better class. I know more verses. That will only lead to pride in our heart, and that will not lead to transformation of anyone, either one's own self and anyone who hears. So one should always become a transparent medium to share the transcendental teachings for the transformation of heart. That will have the right effect. And whenever there is a gap, Lord Krishna mentions in this eternal education, eternal knowledge, it's a E, remember, it's a E. Then he comes again and again. He comes again and again. And that's what he mentions in text 4.7, 8, and 9. Whenever there is a loss of religion and there is an uproar of irreligion, I come again. Very, very important verses, often read, sung, and heard. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyattanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamiham. Very, very important verse of Bhagavad Gita, and many of you may have already memorized it. That whenever there is a decline in religion and an uproar of irreligion, then I come. He comes either himself or through his agents, like Srila Prabhupada, or he comes through scriptures. The merciful Lord appears through the scriptures like Gita, Bhagavatam, etc. And he appears in many forms. Why? To destroy the miscreants, the miscreant elements. The God Purnima is coming. He has specially descended in the Kali Yuga to destroy the evil mentality in our heart. Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to destroy the Vinashaya cha Dushkritam. Now in Kali Yuga, everyone has this Dushkritina propensity. So to destroy that, Mahaprabhu has come, the holy name has come. So when we chant the holy name with sincerity, certainly we will also become sadhu. And that's what the purpose of ISKCON is. Srila Prabhupada has started this movement so that we all can become pure devotees. Dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So to re-establish the principles of religion, Krishna comes again and again. And anyone who understands this, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Vivam Yo Veti Tattvataha, anyone who understands the Tattva, this science, the transcendental nature, the transcendental knowledge, the Jnana Yoga of Krishna's appearance, pastimes, is not like you and I who are born because of material, cycle of Papa and Punya. But Krishna's appearance is divine, and so is the appearance of his pure devotees, like Srila Prabhupada and many more. So one who understands this properly does not take birth again. And in short, one will not have to take repeated birth in the cycle of birth and death. Rather, one will go back home, back to Godhead. And finally, Krishna concludes this section by saying that be free from the dualities of life. My dear Arjuna, be free from the dualities. That is the process to attain transcendental love. So, as we have discussed this many times, being equipoised, being tolerant, freedom from attachment, fear, anger, ups and downs, loss and gain, health and disease, one must try to transcend. And how? By taking shelter. By taking shelter. Man maya mama upashritaha. It is not possible on my own. Ekakiya mara nahi paya bala. We cannot do on our own. only if we take shelter. Maya is very strong. How can we, be free from attachment, fear, anger? All these are very, very difficult. But if we take shelter, the Supreme Lord is saying, if you take shelter of me, take refuge in me, then you will become purified in knowledge and you will attain the transcendental love. You will attain transcendental abode. So that is the eternal education. That's the E, the first letter E. In the first 10 verses, Lord Krishna is explaining that understand this proper science. How? Through the proper channel, the Guru Parampara. The importance of Guru Parampara is shared, and it is understood not just through our ears, but through our heart also. Now, I want to emphasize here, there's a beautiful, interesting story about the 4 dolls in the market. But we're talking about hearing here. So a guy went to buy a doll for his daughter, and he asked, well, there are 4 dolls, all of them look very similar, but why is the price tag so different, right? So he was confused. They all look very similar. And then he said, oh, the first one, this doll, well, anything does not go in her ear. She doesn't listen. It's funny, interesting story. So any message, it does not go in her ear. She does not hear it all. Okay, what about the next one? So next one, she is very good in hearing, right? But she does not register. एक कान से सुना, दूसरे कान से. One devotee was joking. इस कान से उस कान. ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए. It should not be like we hear from this कान and it goes out from that कान, right? It should register. Okay, what about the third one? Well, she's good. She is good in hearing, much better than the second one, and she processes in her head also, and she's very good in speaking also. So there are different gates of body. So it enters from this gate and comes out from very nicely from the mouth. She's very good in speaking, right? But there's a problem. She doesn't apply that knowledge, right? Then this is the doll who not just hears, not just tries to understand, but introspect in the heart, in the consciousness, and most importantly, apply that knowledge in her or his life. That is the most important aspect of hearing. There are 4 stages or 4 steps of digesting wisdom. We may read so many books, so many literature, so many YouTube videos, so many, but until we try to apply that or go through these 4 stages, it will not lead to any good. So what are those 4 stages? The food enters in the mouth, right? You may have seen a cow eating, she eats a lot, but then she has to absorb and she digest and regurgitate, and then it will be assimilated. Then the nutrients, if someone just keeps putting the food and doesn't give the belly a time to digest and absorb, it will not lead to good health, but rather it will lead to an overdose of information and indigestion. It will lead to bad health. So the first stage of hearing is Shravana. Receive the right inspiration, basically absorb through our ears. Is it clear? What stands out? Do you have any question? Basically clarification, understand. Then comes reflection or manana. We must contemplate. We must reflect about what is my experience. Oh, I heard today about the importance of parampara. How does it apply to me, right? Or what can I do in my life? Reflection, introspection, mananam. Then comes the application, in Sanskrit called nididhyasanam. With practical realization and application, how does it relate to my life and what changes I must make? In every class, in every lecture we hear, or every time we read a book, we must try to do one thing differently, at least. Like today I heard a class, how will I do, or how will I make a change in my my life, my behavior, my sadhana, my do's, my don'ts from this class. At least one takeaway we should have. And anyways, too many takeaways never registers on, right? So we must try to have at least one something which we can try to apply. And the last stage, my dear friends, is also very, very important. We must not underestimate the power of prayers. I think someone is unmuted. If Subal Prabhu can take care of that, that will be helpful. Praying, Vandanam. Vandan. Krishna, all this is very hard for me. And I need your help. I need your help. So whatever point, let's say we are talking about proper hearing. Krishna, I need your help. So often I'm hearing the holy name. I tend to fall asleep. My mind goes in different direction. I'll try to make a better attempt, but I need your help. Krishna, please help me out. So praying, intensely calling, very, very important. So these are the 4 stages of hearing or Shravanam, which will help us to not just be like the first one, but try to be like the 4th one, right? And go through the knowledge, understand, nididhyasanam, apply, and pray intensely. So this brings us to the next aspect of the E is eternal education, eternal knowledge. Then comes the A of accurate understanding. Lot of people have so much doubt in understanding Krishna and in understanding the philosophy of the Supreme Lord. So from text number 11 to text number 15, Lord Krishna clears up 3 common misunderstandings which many people have in the Eastern philosophy, right? One common misunderstanding is, oh, you do anything, you'll get to the same destination. All roads lead to Rome. Sorry, all roads don't lead to Rome. One sannyasi, one devotee says, well, if you don't know where to go, then any road will take you there. But if we have a proper destination, if our goal is back home, back to God, at the kingdom of God, the Supreme Lord's Goloka Vrindavan, then any road will not take us there. Very, very important. Maybe we can read also this text. All surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Yetamam prapadyant. Everyone follows my path in all respects, right? And if in the purport, I'm sure you must have read that how, yes, everyone is, maybe in the path. Like if someone is also doing sense gratification, well, ultimately it's all energy of God. But their lack of awareness and their ignorance, their doubt, it may take millions and millions of lifetimes to get to that real goal. One other common misunderstanding is that why are there so many gods, right? Why there is, like we talk about polytheism, right? So before we get to text number 12, I would like to read a passage, and maybe one of you can read if you feel inspired, from the Krishna book. How Krishna is seen by different people differently. And this is from Krishna book, chapter 43, when Krishna killed the elephant, Kuvalyabhira, when he entered the Mathura for fighting with Kamsa. Anyone wishes to read this paragraph?
Yes,
Yes,
Shubha Vilas Prabhu, I can try.
please, Prabhuji.
When Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balaram and their friends, he appeared differently to different people according to their different relationships, rasas, with him. Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure and all kinds of rasas, both favorable and unfavorable. He appeared to the wrestlers exactly like a thunderbolt. To the people in general, he appeared as the most beautiful personality. To the females, he appeared to be the most attractive male, Cupid personified, and thus he increased their lust. The cowherdmen who were present there looked upon Krishna as their own kinsman, coming from the same village of Vrindavan. The empire Kshatriyas kings who were present saw him as the strongest ruler and their chastiser. To the parents of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda, he appeared to be the most loving child. To Kamsa, the king of Bhoja dynasty, he appeared to be death personified. To the unintelligent, he appeared to be an incapable personality. To the yogis present, he appeared to be super soul. To the members of Vrishni dynasty, he appeared to be the most celebrated descendant. Thus, appreciated differently by different kinds of people present, Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balarama and his cowherd boy friends. Having heard that Krishna had already killed the elephant Pida, Kamsa knew beyond doubt that Krishna was formidable. Thus, he became very much afraid of him. Krishna and Balram had long.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. This was the main section which we wanted to discuss. So how you see so many different people were present. Some are seeing as their lover, some as their child, some as their enemy, some as the super soul. How and why? Because they are approaching the Supreme Lord differently. And the Lord says, Yetamam prapadyanti tam sataya bhajamyaham. In whatever way we approach him, he will react or he will reciprocate accordingly. Right? If someone approaches the deity just like an ordinary stone and some piece of metal or piece of wood, then the deities will also remain a piece of metal or a piece of wood. If someone approaches Pratima Nahi Tumi Sakshat Rajendra Nandana, you're not just a piece of metal or wood, you are the Sakshat Rajendra Nandan, the king of Vraja, you are Krishna, then the deities will reciprocate accordingly. Right? So this is real knowledge. This is actual knowledge, right? The A for actual knowledge. And then Krishna talks about how different people approach different, some approach even the demigods to fulfill their short-term desires, etc. But they ultimately don't know like what is the proper way. I can hold my ear through this like this way, or I can try to go back and try to hold my ear. And it's avidhi purvakam. Men of real intelligence, they don't approach the demigods for fruitive work, even if they have any desire, even if it's material desire, they approach Supreme Lord Krishna. Like Dhruva, right? He approached Krishna for some material desire, like the kingdom, and the Supreme Lord fulfilled that. Then Krishna talks about the four kinds of varnas, the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, the Shudra. And this is also a very, very common misunderstanding. Oh, why the society is talking about division, right? Why is there a caste system, right? Why it seems unfair and very exploitative, right? But actually, you take any company, most of us are working in some kind of job. Is there no hierarchy in our company, right? Are there managers, directors, vice presidents, presidents, right? Or do everyone does the same thing? Anyone can go and sit in any office, anyone can park anywhere, right? There's always a system, there's always a hierarchy. Now, very, very important that hierarchy is not based on one's birth or the color of one's skin, but it is guna and karma, right? Guna and karma, that means by their qualities, it's not by janma. That means even if if one has the qualities of a Brahmana, one can become a Brahmana. If one has qualities of a Kshatriya, one will be better suited. So rather than trying to imitate others, one needs to identify where can I serve the best. And similarly, in a temple, in an organization, we all have different natures, different propensities. So rather than trying to compete, we should try to complete ourselves. In short, try to see where can I best serve, right? How can I best serve the Supreme Lord and his mission? So the aim of actual knowledge. So Krishna continues to provide this knowledge, and he basically asks one must follow in the footsteps. Footsteps of whom? Footsteps of those who are liberated souls. Then finally, the next R comes. R is for removing the reactions. There are different types of karma. And Krishna talks about the R. So after the A of accurate understanding is the R of removing reactions. So the transcendental knowledge clears up karmic bank balance. So many people are confused about the three types of reactions or actions. One is karma, one is vikarma, and the third and most important is the akarma, or the action which does not lead to any reaction. In short, bhakti, devotional service, nishkam karma yoga, bhakti yoga. So what is the main difference? The karma and vikarma. Karma basically means positive actions, and vikarma means opposite of that, means negative. The difference in that one is doing as per Shastra, right? And one is doing against the Shastra. Like for example, killing others. Now an example here would be maybe giving, like let's say blankets to the poor people, but done with attachment. Oh, look at me, I am so noble soul. I am so good in giving charity, and I will get positive punya by doing this, which is correct. So I'll distribute blankets out of my money. The attachment does exist, but the same activity, so the karma done without attachment to oneself and attachment to Krishna, basically the purpose is Krishna, right? Like giving food to the poor here would fall in the positive, but giving prasadam to the poor or to anyone would fall in akarma. Why? Because the consciousness is different. Krishna conscious. The consciousness there is, I'm doing it for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. If anyone will get this Krishna Prasad, it will not only nourish their body but their spirit soul as well, and it will free them from the cycle of birth and death. That's the intention. No desire for sense gratification, but desire to please Krishna's senses. Knowing the proper constitutional position that I'm the Krishna servant, and that will lead to pure happiness. What will this lead to? Good reaction. Maybe one will go to Swargaloka, and maybe one will get some, one has saved some money to get some benefits. One will get the pleasures of Swarga, but what then? Shina Punya Mrityu Loka Vishanti. When the Punya credit is exhausted, back to pavilion, back to Mrityu Loka. And bad reaction, one will have to suffer as per the laws of Yamraj. So this is very important, and this is the art of removing reactions. And how can we do that? Krishna says in text number 24, there are 6 Brahmans. Maybe we can read that verse. Anyone would like to read text 24 here? Yes, the verse. Anyone feeling inspired?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Oh, Sushilpa Mataji. Good, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. The shloka, Prabhu, or translation?
Anything you feel inspired, it's fine.
A translation, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute, and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very bold. Thank you. Maybe we'll read the Sanskrit also, because an interesting, like the word Brahma comes here 6 times. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir, Brahma Agnau Brahmana Hutam, Brahmevatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Interesting words. So what is Krishna saying? In simple, if you try to decode, that spiritual oblations, arpanam, offered with Havi. Havi means ingredients, with spiritual ingredients. Where? In the spiritual fire, Agni, by a spiritual person, Huta, who's a performer, will lead to Gantavya. Gantavya means destination, spiritual destination, because of absorption in what? Brahma Karmana, karma or samadhina, spiritual activities, right? The 6 Brahmans are mentioned here. Now, Krishna talks about tapasya also in this section, and maybe we'll read that. So very, very important is the how we can remove the reactions by performing these akarma or devotional. Often people, since Krishna talks about vairagya or work without attachment, we will see in chapter 5 Arjuna gets confused, because in chapter 3 we learned about karma yoga, chapter 4 we are learning about jnana yoga, and then Arjuna has an interesting question at the beginning of chapter 5, which maybe you'll read tomorrow or in the following sessions. Krishna, you're talking about karma and then you're talking about renunciation. I'm confused. What's better? That's how the chapter 5 begins. So often people, when we talk about detachment, we're not talking about detachment from the action, but we're talking about the proper mentality to perform action. So vairagya does not mean there's 2 meanings of vairagya. One meaning is without raga or without attachment. But another meaning is vishesh raga or vishishta raga. That means special attachment. That's what we emphasize more. So rather than doing an activity, so a devotee is more hardworking. A devotee is more conscious about the activity. Why? Because he's doing for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, right? Rather than just doing for this for checking the box. When we are doing something, just imagine you are cooking in the temple Rajbhoga versus you're just cooking for your, like at home. There's a little difference, right? There will be absolutely difference. Although at home also deities are there, maybe there, but still, like, familiarity breeds contempt. So there's a difference, right? You're serving on Janmashtami versus you're serving on a regular day. Still, we have difference, right? What to speak of non-devotees? There is tons of difference in the consciousness. So the point here is the art of removing reaction. So the last topic, the last section from text number 25 onwards, Krishna talks about sacrifice, right? The S stands for sacrifice. So material knowledge is dependent on one's own caliber, but spiritual knowledge is dependent on not the caliber, but the character, right? Very, very important. The quality of a devotee is more important, right, than their ability, right? The character is always more important than their competence. So how to develop that? By taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And that's the essence of this section. And the climax is the 34th text, where Lord Krishna says, Tadvidi pranipatena, pariprashnena sevaya. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter, render service, and then one will be able to receive the right knowledge, the right message, and understand and apply. So the Guru, Guru Krishna Prasadai Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. Krishna is not a product in the market. We can go to Publix and buy like 2 pounds of potatoes. It's not a product like that. Bhakti, the Supreme Lord, Krishna is given. Ekaki Tumar, Krishna's Vaishnav Thakur, you can give Krishna. We cannot get Krishna. The devotees, the Guru can give Krishna. So in this section, there is also example of austerity, right? So any activity, this is an interesting flowchart, which is in this section of Bhagavad Gita. So any activity, let's say, now we can ask ourselves, is it recommended by the Bhakti scriptures? So if it's yes, that means it's good activity, it's important, it's Bhakti activity. Now, do I like it? Do I like it? That means great, continue doing so. For example, someone will like Kirtan. Okay, wonderful. It's recommended in the Bhakti Shastra. I like it. Okay, good. But maybe some activity is there, it's recommended. For example, getting up in the morning. Oh, I don't like it. It's hard. But still, if we do it, that's called tapasya. If we do something for someone, doing Kirtan could be tapasya. For someone, getting up early could be tapasya. You see how it is different for different, right? If someone says, well, I will not eat gulab jamun, or I will never eat Karela. Well, he doesn't like eating Karela anyway, so what's the big deal in there, right? Right? So, so the point is, we have to see what is the tapasya. So that is what is that bhakti sacrifice. Now let's follow this side. Is it recommended in the scriptures? No. For example, watching mundane movies. Well, I like it. Oh yeah, I like watching mundane movies. Then don't do it. Hmm. Then if I don't do it, that will be pleasing to the Lord. That will be considered tapasya. But if I don't like watching those movies and I say, hey, henceforth I'll not watch mundane movies, then what is the big deal there, right? Or I'll not eat non-veg food. Well, I never ate from the beginning of my, mother's womb. So there's no big deal there. So it could be different, but someone is too attached to certain things and it's not recommended in the Shastra, then continue not doing it. That's not tapasya, but yeah, continue not doing it. Don't start doing it. But you see, what is austerity? What is tapasya? What is sacrifice? So that brings us to the next section. In there's so many different ways in text 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. You all have already read it. So I'm not going in detail. What are all these sacrifices? But for a devotee, for a bhakta, the main sacrifice is the arpanam, is the 9 limbs of bhakti, right? So we follow the bhakti process. We take the shelter of the Supreme Lord, chanting Krishna's name, reading Bhagavad Gita, honoring Krishna Prasad, following the do's and don'ts of bhakti process. And that will lead us to the highest destination, which is back home, back to Godhead. But again, it's not about just knowledge. It is about approaching a bona fide spiritual master and then taking sincere shelter. It's a very, very important verse. It's worth bringing it up. It brings us to text number 34. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya updekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Anyone wants to read the translation? It's on the screen.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for reading this very, very important verse. And then we come to the last section of sacrifice. So Krishna says that doubts are like demons. And how can we remove the doubts? By the sword of knowledge, right? How can we attain knowledge? By taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, by rendering service unto him. There is no happiness without sacrifice, Krishna says. So we have to follow certain do's and don'ts in the path of bhakti, which will help us, right? For example, we are all students on the path of bhakti. If someone is studying, there are certain do's and don'ts, right? One cannot say, well, I'll eat what I want, I'll do what I want, and I'll even if one has to get, like an Olympic medal, so many do's and don'ts they have to follow, right? They have a strict regime. So if we want to attain the pure lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, pure Krishna consciousness, then we must follow certain do's and don'ts, like subduing the senses, as mentioned here, of having faith, Shraddha. Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport about the importance of faith, right? So it will help us to quickly attain the lotus feet, the peace, the happiness, right? For example, if someone is sick and someone keeps, drinking colas and fried food, their sickness will not quickly, they'll not be able to heal themselves. Even if they're taking the medicine, the disease will take more time to heal. But if they follow the do's and don'ts, which are very, very simple, this tapasya doesn't mean to go on the Himalayas and stand on one leg, right? This tapasya is very simple. But those who ignore, those who are faithless, and keep doubting scriptures, keep doubting acharyas, they will never be happy. What to speak of the next world, even in this world, they will never be happy. Happiness is not there for those who are doubting, for a doubting soul. Doubts are like demons. Doubts are like the termites which will destroy the bhakti lata. So therefore, Lord Krishna says, the doubts which have arisen in your heart, in Arjuna's heart, in all of our heart, out of ignorance, should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Arm with yoga, O Bharata, fight, stand up and fight. In short, give up these demoniac doubts, take to the process of the pure Krishna consciousness through the disciplic succession and slash the demoniac doubts, take to this eternal education, understand, have an accurate understanding of all the tattvas, of me, of you, right? Understand what does it mean, akarma, the action which leads to no reaction. And one must sacrifice. Sacrifice in the sense, do tapasya. In bhakti, sacrifice, very, very simple, easy, not like Dhruva or Maharaj, where it was like breathing in once in like 6 days, right? We cannot do those sacrifices. We cannot do sacrifices like, going to Himalayas, give up family, give up job. No. One may be anywhere, in any situation, as we read in the beginning, right? One could be in anywhere, in any situation, one can get the association of the Supreme Lord face to face if one is sincerely fallen. So taking shelter of Guru, text 34, is very, very important in the sacrifice section. And then the doubts will be removed, the impurities will be destroyed, and one will rekindle the pure love of God. So this is the quick synopsis of chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita entitled Jnana Yoga, or Transcendental Knowledge. I'd like to pause here and thank you all for your time, your attention, your patience. And if someone has any thoughts, questions, corrections, I'm happy to discuss. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can you please turn him? Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dana Pranam. Okay. Very nice to have your class online, Prabhuji, after almost more than a year. Though I have some personal class with you, and very nicely summarized. So, Prabhuji, one very silly questions maybe, but still I want to ask you, as you said, like not eating gulab jamun may be tapasya, but when it comes as a prasadam, like, and devotees are serving gulab jamun, I have no diabetes, can we ignore that because it's Krishna's mercy? How come we utilize execute my tapasya in that case?
Yeah, that's a very thoughtful question. So if it comes without much endeavor, and if one's health allows, one can take one or two. It is fine. And we have to see time, place, circumstances. And what is the consciousness? For example, let's say somehow gulab jamuns are over and I'm getting worried. Hey, why didn't you leave for me? I really want gulab jamun. This is Krishna Prasad. I really wanted Krishna Prasad. My consciousness there is not about prasad. It's about the taste of gulab jamun, right? Maybe they left rice and dal for me. I'm not seeing that as prasad, right? So it's all about consciousness. Even one time Bhaktisiddhanta Sai Thakur mentioned in the Matha, someone need 1 gulab jamun, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10. And then he said, is Krishna meant to be served or Krishna meant to be enjoyed? Am I serving Krishna Prasad? Or we don't say eat, like we never use the word eating prasad, right? We use the word honoring prasad. right? This is not different from Krishna. This is the consciousness with which we should look. So if it is gulab jamun or it is, Karela, right? Of course, one should, discriminate in the sense if someone has, health issues, the body does not allow, one can offer pranama. That thank you, Prabhu, you're offering me, but I'll accept with my pranama. Or if you really want me to take this, I cannot take this, but you're offering with so much love, my health does not allow, I'll pack it and give it to my neighbor, right? Or give it to my child, give it to my husband, wife, right? Then they're seeing it in the right consciousness. But if someone is saying, okay, give me more, forget about others. Oh, only 10 are left. There are 5 people. I'll take 5. Forget about, I came early. So again, it's all about consciousness. But if it comes out of its known natural accord, if they are left, everyone has taken prasad, and if one is left and two is left, one is taking, that is absolutely fine. And because one is not attached to gulab jamun, one is attached to prasad. And if rice dal is left, I'll gratefully take it. If gulab jamun is left and others have honored, I can also take one. Thank you.
Actually, the question is the other way,
Mm,
that if I reject gulab jamun
mm,
because of my tapasya, because I think I'll not eat gulab jamun as a tapasya,
okay.
but if it's offered to me and if I reject, it's a, actually I am rejecting Krishna's mercy
Mm.
because I'm doing my own tapasya and rejecting Krishna's mercy.
No, it's not rejecting Krishna's mercy. So let's say someone has a Kartik Vrata, that I will not eat any sweet. Okay. So what is the purpose of that Vrata? To develop spiritual advancement. And what is the intention? To please Krishna. So one can politely say that one doesn't need to broadcast, I have this big vrata, I'm not going to eat any sweet in this month. One can politely say, right, that I can take it for my wife or my son, right? That you have to see, like in the circumstances, if they're really pushing, no, no, you must take, okay, I'll take, but maybe I'll eat tomorrow, okay? Or maybe, I'm so full, I accept your love, your gratitude, your devotion, your offering, but I am so full, and because of my health and my other situations, I can take it tomorrow, and you can give it to someone. And so you're basically not rejecting also. So let's say devotees ask the similar question, like we follow Ekadashi Prasad or we follow Ekadashi regime. If someone and gives us, you go to some friend's home and say, well, oh, thank you for coming today. I have made special, and I know that you don't eat onion garlic, and I know you eat prasad, so I've offered it to Krishna. But today's Ekadashi, and offering, they're offering paratha. So what to do, right? Shall we eat it? No, right? No. It's not that we are rejecting Krishna Prasad, but we are, and Krishna will give us the right intelligence that I'm so grateful, you're so thoughtful, you made this for me and offered it to Krishna. That's so amazing. I'm so, what? I just had my breakfast. I'm so full, and I will take it home. I don't want to miss this Krishna Prasad. I'll take it home, and then we can eat it tomorrow, honor it tomorrow, and that's absolutely fine, right?
Great, Bruce. Thank you. I got my answer.
Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamapayadite. Praying intensely to Vandana, to give us the intelligence, Krishna, in the right situation, to the right words can come at the right time. Very well. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Anyone else has corrections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time for us, Prabhuji. It was a very nice. I was hoping for, the fourth chapter summary. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the opportunity.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam all to Srila Prabhupada. As usual, uh, your PPTs to better understand, easy understand, like the acronym and the abbreviation of each of the letters, ears, right? EARS. So very nice, Prabhuji. Liked it. And the dolls, um, a big, easy to um, differentiate on what is the destination and what exactly should we do. The fourth doll, which is costly, has an endeavor to do. So we have to consciously check ourselves on whether it is really purifying our heart or not. Starting with ears, listening, and then contemplating, and then reflecting, and then applying the change for our own growth. Like that, Prabhuji. Thank you so very much for beautifully summarizing, um, showing the shlokas, numbers, and which shloka is applied to which um, acronym. Thank you so very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your kind words. This is all shared by devotees. We are just transparent transmitter of the transcendental teachings for transformation of consciousness. So please pray so we can always remain a transparent transmitter. Very well.
So, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Very well.
So you're talking about sacrifices, and one thing came to mind is that there are material sacrifices and, of course, spiritual sacrifices. And in the material world, we we are working in the office or something. There's a deadline. We'll put everything else aside because there is money involved here, and probably a promotion or whatever. Everything is at stake, and so we'll go about doing it. Same thing when I was in college. You know, I wanted to do other things, go to a movie or something, but the next day there's an exam. So you'll be studying till midnight so that you're going to get up fasting, to do well. So that material sacrifice seems to come, we're more willing to do it. The spiritual sacrifice, when we have to do it, that's when that there's some kind of inertia, and we have to develop that. Just my comment.
You have to overcome that inertia. Amen.
Right.
Yeah. And why? Why? I mean, it's worth contemplating. Why is that? Because I still have a lot of attachment to matter. I love matter more than Krishna. Those who love Krishna more than anything else, they are willing to do anything for Krishna. And they are doing it. Like Srila Prabhupada. Why he took all the pains to come on a cargo ship facing heart attacks and facing all kinds of deadly, life-threatening situations. And all his disciples, you see how much pain, how much sacrifice they are taking.
Back go. Actually,
Subal Prabhu, can you help? So you see, like so many devotees, out of the 24 hours in their life, so many sannyasis, you can think, so many grihasthas who are always busy 24/7, right? Sharing Krishna consciousness, practicing Krishna consciousness. Even the current Vartaman Guru Vrinda, you see their lives. They are taking so much. What will a average 70-year-old person do, right? Okay, my life, and please don't take it personally. I'm just talking about an average, person. They'll just say, okay, I'm settled, retired now. I don't need to mind my own business. I take it easy, right? Relax, right? That's the general mood, right? I have worked hard for 20, 30, 50 years. I don't want to complicate. But look at Prabhupada disciples. Their average age might be like 70, some are 75, some are 65. There's no one under 65, a Prabhupada disciple. But look at how much hard work they are doing even now. Every day, 365 days. Why? Because they love Krishna. They love Guru. So we have to follow their footsteps and try. Again, we cannot, imitate it, but at least we should try. We should try our part. We should try to the best of our part. and go outside our comfort zone. Prabhupada, if Prabhupada would also have been in his comfort zone, then we would all have been in a great discomfort. So let's try. That's all I can say. I'm also trying, and we're all, let's try, take inspiration from those and do some perspiration, right? We sweat for Maya, right? We sweat for degrees. We sweat for money. Let's sweat for Krishna too. Swamatu svinnagatraya vistrastra kabara saja dishtva parishramam Krishna kripayasit swabandhane. When Krishna saw that Mother Yashoda was sweating, running after him, then he decided to be caught, right? So parishram to karna padega, right? We have to show Krishna that I love you. And I mean it through my words, actions, and deeds. Hari Bol. Please pray.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's time, Prabhu. Shall we pause?
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Let's all say 3 times Hari Bol to His Grace Sridham Shubha Vilas Prabhuji. Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Bhagavad Gita Upanishad ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.